Right, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're alright. Well, today I'm going to do a running review of UBIK by Philip K. Dick. How about that then? So, yeah. Now, I haven't read a lot of sci-fi, but started a bit this year, and I've read Dune. That's classic, pretty good, world building and all that. But you know, one or two weaknesses in it, obviously. Read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So, first, Mr. Philip K. Dick, and yeah, UBIK. Now, yeah, not quite sure. It's hard work reading it. I'm not a fan of horror. Don't read horror, and this was a bit creepy at times. So, yeah, a little bit creepy at times. So, yeah, I'm not so keen on that, but it was okay. It's kind of getting your head around it. So, but will be spoilers. So, if you want to read it yourself and don't want spoilers, then look away now. So, what was it about? Right. Yeah, it feels, you know, when you got somebody with as big a reputation as Philip K. Dick, you kind of almost like question yourself, criticising, but I will do. Up, moorhen. Hang on. Is it? Yeah, it's a moorhen, not a coot. Up. Look at that. Hello. Sorry, I got no bread for you. Well, this is a surprise, isn't it? You're supposed to be shy, you lot. Is somebody feeding you bread? Yeah. Hello. They're supposed to be shy. So, yeah. Anyway, where was I? Alright, Mr. Philip K. Dick and his UBIK. So, yeah. What was it about? Well, it's sci-fi. So there's some chap, and he's supposed to measure. He works for Runsiter or somebody, some chap who owns a company that run telepaths, and he's part of the team. He's the best at measuring their strength and what they can do and this, that and the other. And some chap brings some woman, and we've never heard of this talent before that she's got. Hang on, look at this. The Titanic. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to it. So, this woman's supposed to have these talents. Brings her, you know, wants a job to use her talents. And what is it? And it's, well, she can change time, or basically if she don't like what's happened, she can go back and start it again and go from there. Something like that. So it's not exactly time travel, but anyway. How do? You alright?
Yeah.
And So that's you know, a talent or something. So yeah. Oop. Well, that's an animal. Oop. That's an animal, that. Here we are. Morecambe Bay. I won't go too far down here. And so yeah, this chap's trying to get her a job, and then the first piece, they're given a job to go to another planet for some reason to check out something or other, getting money down here, and he's a bit wary, but they're paying a lot of money. So they get the crack team together of all these different telepaths, you know, people who can predict the future. And yeah, I'll turn around and go the other way, it's just too muddy. Look at that. So, you know, they can predict the future, others can read minds or whatever. So it's like, right, okay, so the crack team go off to this planet. You see this planet, and then there's an explosion and someone might have died. It's all sci-fi. And then they come back, or they're trying to get back, and well, why aren't they trying to stop us? And this is all a bit easy. And then oh, that's it. I'd missed a bit. This Runsiter, the boss of the company, he's got a wife who's died, you know, really young. I can't remember whether he said 18 or 21, but really young. But she was the brains in the business. So, right, fair enough. And so another part of the story, this Runsiter goes off to visit her. She's in this particular place where it's like a half-life. They're in some kind of machine, wired up, not alive, not dead, but you can talk to them and they come back. And so he speaks to her, but she's slipping away, and eventually they'll go. So it's a bit creepy. So that's the main bit. So I'll talk about that in a second. So he's speaking to her, and she's saying, oh, there's this other kid here, Jory, young, and yeah, he's blocking me. And then he comes through on the machine, and he's like, get out of here, I want to speak to my wife. And he's like, no, talk to me. So he goes and sees the boss. Can't you get rid of him? Well, I can't, his family pay a lot. So that's another thing. So the book is, I think what he does is, I mean, I've not read a lot of his books, but I think what he does is he comes up with an idea like that, like you can be halfway between alive and dead, and then try and build a book around it. Now, oops, are we on? We're on! And so, but, I want to say but, so I'm reading it as a book. He's put together this team of crack telepaths. So I'm like, all right, this is going to be interesting. What are they going to do? What's the talents? And then they never appear again. It's like, oh, well, that's disappointing. I wanted to see what all these 11, 12, you know, telepaths were going to do. Now, I assume, because he's written so many books, he'll do telepaths and God knows what in other books. But just as a one-off book, it's like you built a team of crack telepaths and there's nothing in the story about them. What's the point of that? So anyway, So they all disappear. Well, nearly all of them. So then he's back and there's been this explosion, and then, you know, this Pat who's come to see him with these special powers, she's young, and comes back another timeline, and he's like, well, I half remember it, and oh, we're married. So he's married to her, but he don't love her, but he's like scared of her over what she can do with these timelines. And it's like, is this real? Is this not real? Which is obviously a bit freaky, but it's kind of, so it's like, well, is it real? Is it not real? So then that his wife Pat, with these special powers, who could be controlling the whole thing, look at this beautiful bridge, she then disappears out of the story for ages, and it's like, what is this? So so then after they come back from the planet, so it's like, is Runsiter dead? Are they dead and Runsiter's alive? And you know, is he in one of these halfway, is he in the halfway house, half dead or alive, or are they in the halfway houses, dead or alive? And it's all a bit, so it's a bit difficult for Mr. Philip K. Dick to control all of this. So he, hang on, look at that, how's that all end up there? Very strange. So it's a bit, yeah, are they alive, are they not? You know, who's good, who's bad? And then this Runsiter starts sending them messages. They have coins. Sometimes these coins work, sometimes they don't work. Right, I'll just talk about a couple, if I can remember them, of different things in the book. So one thing in the book is it's got this kind of, so bearing in mind it's got this kind of creepy, you know, creepy kind of weakish horror type vibe. Oh, let's turn around. So bear that in mind, and let you see the distance. So one of his little foibles, Mr. Philip K, is when you meet somebody, this is for about the first half of the book and then you don't bother after. When you meet somebody, it's, oh, here comes Johnny C. He's wearing pink pantaloons, a flying helmet, and he's got a leak up his nose. You know, I'm slightly exaggerating, but I'm not. But everybody is dressed garishly, weird, and you know, this is just, I find it really tiresome, because I'm like, you know, what is Philip trying to do here? Is he trying to say they're all a bit wacky? But they wouldn't be all wacky because they're all dressed like that. So am I supposed to think it's wacky? Or so? But what I found interesting from a reader's perspective is that kind of broke up that kind of creepy, it kind of broke that kind of spell, if you like. It kind of broke that, and it's just like, that's ridiculous. So after the first one, you're kind of like, what? And then after that, it was just, you know, kind of like reading it, it's just not registering, you know. Pineapple under his arm, whatever. It was just, you know, well, there's no pineapple under his arm, but it's just like, okay, so he's now describing some ridiculous clothes, right? Okay. The other thing that I noticed is, you know, there was Like, and again, another book's done this. It says something like, oh, such and such a body. So he's married to somebody, this weird old psychopath, you know, probably a bit nasty, whatever. And then there's this other woman who you just get the name of, and it's like, oh no, and she says, oh, I fancy you. And he's like, oh, well, I've always fancied you. And she's like got superpowers, and it's like, well, no, you know, I know we'll be together. So you're like, all right. So he does things like that. So he'll lay something down. So he'll say, oh, you know, there's a bad guy controlling stuff. We don't know who it is, but it doesn't feel like him. It feels like somebody young. It feels like, you know, like a teenager. How a teenager would deal with it. So he'll say something, and then if you spot it later on in the book, it'll come back and you'll go, I was giving clues. So you'll have, you know, a couple of paragraphs of this kind of weird stuff, paragraphs, chapters even, and then you'll just say, oh right, yeah. But what is kind of frustrating is, you know, he'll say things, and there's just so many loose ends here and there, and it's just like, well, this is hard work, you know. But it's difficult to kind of say, because you could think, oh well, loose ends are a good thing, but I'm not convinced that a lot of them. I think he's kind of 80% in control over his story. Some sections it's kind of, you know, he's rabbiting on for ages. It's like they start regressing in time. Now it's like, now surely, yeah, okay, so I'll pause a second. The other thing that he does is that there's no emotion in the book. You know, the characters don't have emotions. Hang on, we could be dead. Right, should we walk down the street? What? Excuse me. You could be dead, right? Yeah, you could be alive. You could be in love. And he has this, you know, quite a few peculiar habits. So there'll just be, you're reading all this, and it's kind of, it's like what he's done is he's gone, right, here's this half-life. Now what could happen? Now this could happen, that could happen, this could happen. And he's kind of 70%, 80% in control of his own ideas, if that makes sense. It's like, where are you going with this? Alright, well that loose end's tied up, but those other three are not. Yeah. But he'll say, oh, I was scared. Oh, I was furious. And then at the end of that sentence, that is the end of him being furious. That is the end of him being scared. And it's just like, right, in this regression bit, goes into quite a bit of detail. These cars are like this. This can of UBIK is now not a spray can. It's now gone to a box. It's now gone to pastels. It's now gone, and it's kind of a bit of a list, you know, which is kind of half interesting. But I always find lists, it's like that pop song, you know, mid-yo, you know, if I could be a soldier, I'd do if I could be a fireman, if I could be a find lists a bit, you know, kind of, oh, it's a list, isn't it? You know, it's clever doing a list. No, it's just a list. So anyway, so let's go back in time and you get a bit of details. Why? And why they're not worried. And so I'll come back to that control thing. There's another bit where at the start of each paragraph he goes on about this UBIK, and it's like I think a bit of a kind of a Mickey take on consumerism. Use UBIK and your breath will never smell again. Next one, use UBIK, it'll make you young and attractive, whatever. So there's a little snippet of that. Fair enough, that's kind of top and tailing, making it consistent. But there's the other bits where I'm saying is kind of like 70-80%. It's just a bit, you know, like when you get one of these, if you're watching in America, you'll have your soaps. We have them over here, you know, Coronation Street and all the rest of it. And it's kind of like one way that they keep things going is that somebody will say something and the others like play dumb. You know, they don't let them finish a sentence. Blah 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 blah. Well, I just had a row with your father. Wow, you had a row with my father. That's not right. See you later. And it's like, you didn't give me a chance to explain. So that's one kind of way, kind of a cheap device. Now, the other thing that he does is he'll kind of paint himself into, getting darker now, this isn't good in the dark, this. He'll paint himself into a ridiculous corner. And, you know, with a story device or whatever. And it's like, oh, come on, Flash Gordon, how are you going to get out of this? And it's almost like he will say, well, you know, some people would think that this would be ridiculous, but, and then just some kind of cheap, tacky little twist, like, oh, we'll carry on now, because it's, yeah, it's almost like, you know, because it's a bit ridiculous, blah blah blah, and carries on. And it's just kind of like, you know, that's a bit kind of cheap. And, you know, I don't want to give away, you know, like the endings. I'm quite down on a guy who's he's done very, very well for himself, hasn't he? You know, do androids dream of electric sheep and all that? But like I say, he seems to take on this idea, take on something, play around with it, and oh, here's another one. I think, because he must have had such a good reputation, you know, the editors are quite kind of like kind with him, and it's just like, well, we can't really say that's not really a good sentence, Philip. You know, that's kind of, you know, that's not very good, Philip. Oh, it's Philip K. Dick, in it. Oh, he must know his stuff. Some of the writing is, you know, you kind of like, it's getting a bit repetitive. That's a bit repetitive, that. Why not cut that bit out? Or, you know, the writing's quite clunky. And again, just like how he throws in the, such and such a body. Yeah, he's wearing a, you know, a pilot's helmet. Just put it in. What it does as well is, every so often, about once a chapter, he'll throw in some big long literary word, and it's just like, what's that? What's that doing there? It's kind of almost like, again, I've not read a lot of them, but it's almost like he's got a tick list. Right, so, right, I need to think some science fiction. Oh, what about, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? We're going to settle down for the night. Train over in the distance. So it's almost like, right, so I've got this idea. Half-Life. Right, what would happen if you were in there? And what would happen if you didn't know whether you were on the inside or the outside? Right, you could do this, you could do that, you could do all this. Alright, well, I've tied that loose end up, I've tied that, oh no. I'm going to have to drag out the big long list now of going back in time. And kind of, no one's running around like, oh my God, what's going on? Why is someone dying? Who's doing it? A bit weak on the emotions, right? The other thing is, start of each paragraph, I'm going to do a bit of UBIK, some jokey consumerism thing, because all those writers are left-wing commies at heart, aren't we? That'll go down well with the readers, yeah. So I'll do that. Once a chapter, I'll throw in a big long word, and when the characters arrive, they'll all be wearing ridiculous outfits, but are they really ridiculous? Because everybody's wearing a ridiculous outfit. So, kind of, what's the point? So, I think I'd probably better stop. He's clearly a clever guy with his ideas, kind of researching them out. But I'll bet if I read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, it ain't gonna be like all top and tailed and exciting car chases and after the Hollywood treatment. Not saying it's bad, but there's going to be lists in there and characters kind of sat around and all the rest of it. So yeah, we'll find out in the fullness of time. Yeah. If I don't talk to myself, I'll talk to no one. Right, and on that note, I'll just go over here and we'll just see if we can finish off, see if we should get a bit of a view of the bay. But the big house, the lovely conker tree up there, all there was. Right, will we see it? Oh yeah, just about. Behind those houses, there's the bay, Lake District. Yeah. That'll be Barrow over there, Dotley Furnace, Lake's over there. Yeah. So you can just about see the sea. Yeah. So, well, I didn't realise I was going to chat for so long, but that's UBIK. Found that hard work. Lot in there, gets your head around, but really glad that I've read it. I'll be reading more, learning from the guy, picking up tips. Yeah, it's not like a kind of an easy read like a Louis L'Amour Cowboy, is it? Yeah, a lot more structure there, simpler structure. But it's what you like, isn't it? Right, I'm gonna go see if I can't find a tin of this UBIK somewhere. Bye for now. Happy reading in 2025, everybody. Will we get the swans in the half light? Oh, look at that. Look at you. Yeah. Very nice. I think those are the cygnets. Just about grown now. Ooh, can hear the moor hens then. Right. Home, James, cup of coffee time. Hey.